So I'm not going to sit here and make fun of Zack Snyder's personal problems. I don't like the man as a director. I think he's produced a lot of shit. He's like a low-rent Michael Bay. I don't like 300. I don't like Watchmen that much. I do like his Dawn of the Dead remake. But really, I like the original Romero film. So I don't think you can fuck it up too much. Plus, his is fun. I think it's more fun than the Romero one. I'm not saying it's a better movie. I'm saying it's fun. But the reason I'm prefacing this is I don't want you to think that I'm making this video as an attack on Zack Snyder. Look, it's terrible to lose someone in your family in the first place, but the fact that his daughter killed herself, I mean, that's even more tragic because you know there had to be a steep decline in mental health and stuff like that. And I'm not a doctor. We used to have a doctor on this podcast. That wasn't me, though. So I'm not going to sit here and try to analyze Zack Snyder's personal situation. All I'm going to do is talk about why I think it's good that he's finally out of the DCEU and how I feel Joss Whedon is going to handle the situation. So first, Zack Snyder, as I said, is out. Why do I think this is a good thing? Well, first off, I think Zack Snyder has made 2 bad superhero movies in the DCEU. Man of Steel, I'm going to put it on the edge of bad, but it's still better than other Superman movies. I could sit down and watch Man of Steel over Superman Returns any day. Superman Returns is the worst fucking superhero movie ever made. And if you disagree, that's cool. But if you think it's the best, you're wrong. There's no other way around it. I saw that movie the first day it came out in theaters. I was pumped. I like Superman. You know, I'm not the biggest Superman fan in the world, but I am the guy that owns the comics, the t-shirts. I've seen them, all the movies, stuff like that. So I do like Superman. Love the animated series. Superman the Animated Series is up there as one of the greatest pieces of superhero entertainment ever. Snyder's Superman isn't the real Superman. He's too mopey and brooding, excuse me. He's too brooding. And I don't like that. Superman's supposed to be this big bastion of hope. He's the light at the end of the tunnel. You're supposed to look up to him, and he's like your dad that's going to swoop you up and save you and put you down, set you on the right path, and you're just going to be like, thanks, Superman, I will do better. And then, you know, you do. And I know he's not a real person. I'm not looking to him as a real person. But as an audience, you're supposed to get that feeling. Like when Christopher Reeve was Superman. I wasn't born when those movies came out. I don't really have the nostalgic feelings towards him. But I do have to say, every time the movie ends, where he kind of like flies up off the planet and looks into the camera in ways like, you know, everything's going to be all right. And I like that kind of feeling. It's a good feeling of hope. I don't care what people say the S on his chest stands for. The Zack Snyder Superman does not stand for hope in any respect. Then, 3 years later, last year, we had BVS, Batman v Superman. And if you're a long-standing member of this channel, you know my opinions on it. It's okay. It's just meh, but it's not really good. And upon watching it more, and then the extended cut, I dislike it more and more with each viewing. Batman was fine, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself, was Batman really good, or was he the best part of shit, and he was elevated because everything else was lowered in quality? I think that's an important question to ask yourself. And then we get to Suicide Squad, which Zack Snyder did not direct. I understand that, but you have to understand something. When the studio set out to make a DC extended universe, and Zack Snyder was in the beginning, you kind of have to follow suit with his films. So the tone set in Man of Steel followed over to Batman v Superman and then Suicide Squad. And now we're going to get to Wonder Woman in a few days. And you got to wonder, how much is Zack Snyder going to poison that well as well? So my point is, with Zack Snyder, personal opinions of the man aside, I don't think he's done a good job with the DCEU, because maybe you're a DC fan, but in general, the DCEU feels like a joke. You know, I'm an artist. I worked at Free Comic Book Day, and I had a lot of conversations about the movies, because not everyone's reading every book. Not everyone likes the certain characters the way you do, but everybody, to a degree, I mean, that's hyperbole, but to a degree, everyone's seen the movies, okay? So you can have a discussion on Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, this, and that, because everyone's going to have a reference point. If I wanted to sit and talk about Spider-Man, and I started talking about Kraven's Last Hunt, how many people are going to know that? Do you personally listening to this know it? Maybe not. That's why I always go with the movies. But the underlying theme of that day was, these movies are bad. And I agree. I don't own them. I watch them on TV. Friends have them on Blu-ray. I'll look at them if they're on. But it's nothing that I ever have the urge to buy. I don't go out and say, oh man, Batman v Superman, Instant classic. Gotta own the Blu-ray. Gotta get the Batman figures. Put it like this. This is completely off topic for just a brief second. I've owned every version of Batman from a film. From every film. So, I got Michael Keaton figures, Val Kilmer, even George Clooney figures, Christian Bale. The list goes on. Don't own a Ben Affleck Batman figure. Now I'm a grown man, have access to money. Price is no object. I just don't like that. So, even that movie even makes me break a tradition. I know that's not really important to you, but I'm just using it as an example to the fact that that's how detached I feel from these things. Batman's my second favorite hero after Spider-Man. I like Batman more than anyone else in the MCU or any Marvel property. Batman's the shit. Not really feeling him. But back to the whole Justice League thing. I saw the Justice League trailer. You saw the Justice League trailer. Didn't really get excited. Didn't laugh at the right parts for the right reasons. First thing I noticed personally was how shitty the effects looked. I know you're going to say, oh, it's a trailer, they're not done. No, trailers have finished effects because you're selling the movie. As a fan of this franchise, you yourself would understand that they didn't have time to finish it, and then you still go see the movie. The average moviegoer is going to look at that and go, that looks like shit, I'm not going to pay to see it. So those are the finished effects. But my point is, everything just looked so small scale and claustrophobic. This is the Justice League, okay? I think they should be fighting in outer space before the Avengers, but it ain't going to happen. You have so many years of backlogged build-up with the Avengers that when the Guardians roll in and they fight Thanos, I'm ready. Like, if you would have went classic DC, you should have had the Justice League fighting Darkseid on Apocalypse and shit way before Thanos and the Avengers. But you know what? That goes to show you what happens when you have a good singular voice like a Kevin Feige behind you and one unified goal and vision. DC doesn't. DC had Zack Snyder because Zack Snyder made 300, which I hate. If you like it, cool. Zack Snyder made Watchmen, which I'm on the fence about. I like about 70% of it, but I don't think Zack Snyder really, if you consider that film a success, it's not because of Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder just adapted whatever was on the page, and that's fine, and I do like that, but he didn't put anything artistic in it of quality to me. He upped the violence, which just doesn't really fit, because I'm not one of these people that's uptight about gore in the slightest bit, but he was overly violent and overly just, I don't know, there were just bad feelings towards that movie. And it seemed like a mean-spirited film. It's supposed to kind of be, not hopeful, but you're supposed to end it on, like, a good note and stuff. And I left it in the theater, meh, I wasn't too excited. So there's that. So I don't know why you chose him to start your DC Extended Universe, because, yeah, he made you money before, but, like, you're going on name recognition and all this other shit, and it didn't pan out. So I'm off Zack Snyder. I'm sorry. It's been a long part of that. But let's get to the Joss Whedon parts. Why I think it's good. Why I think it's bad. First off, why do I think it's good? 2 words. The Avengers. All right? The Avengers was a huge accomplishment in film. Was it the best movie ever made? No. Was it the best superhero movie made? Possibly. I personally like Spider-Man 2 more. There are a bunch of other ones I think are better. Hell, the MCU has better films. Winter Soldier. Civil War. Maybe Iron Man. Maybe. Point is, though, Joss Whedon has proven himself in the realm of superheroes. I think, on paper, he looks like a great fit for the Justice League. I think a lot of people are reading these articles and getting excited because they're like, oh man, the Avengers is great, now the Justice League is going to be great. But there's just one big fucking problem. The Justice League film has been made. It's done. They shot it months ago. It comes out in 6 months, okay? Barring them going back to the table real quick, rewriting shit overnight and shooting it soon on a green screen, you really can't change too much of the movie. I mean, this is a Zack Snyder film. It's going to be tonally dark. It's going to be, okay, not tonally overly dark, but I mean, like, it's a dark film. It's a lot of grays and dark blues and blacks and shit like that. It's not a bright, colorful film. Even the trailer is very brown and ugly. This is supposed to be the Justice League. I mean, Superman wears a red and blue suit with a yellow belt, but in the Zack Snyder universe, he wears a suit so dark, it can be passed off as black. Personally, I do like the black Superman suit with the silver accoutrements, but you know what? That's not the Superman we need on film. This isn't like a Spider-Man situation post 9/11 where we need something bright and colorful to kind of bring us out of the fucking depression vacuum of the early 2000s. But Superman has always been like I said earlier, like that dad or grandpa or whatever, your cool uncle that's kind of going to like lift you up and set you on the right path. And I'm not going back down it, but Zack Snyder's Superman is not that. Joss Whedon can't change what came before it, and he can't really change this film. Now, I would be thoroughly impressed if they were to go back with some money and shoot a bunch of insert shots and do what they can do to save us, because if you listen to this channel, I shit on DC all the time. Why? Because it's shit. I don't dislike DC. Fuck, I've tried to work there before. I like that company. Their comic characters are classic. And currently, they're the best publisher of the big two out there right now. I'm loving the Flash. And I don't even like the fucking Flash. I think he's a dumb character. Ooh, I run fast and I deal with time travel. That's okay. Whatever, but you're not my favorite superhero. But DC is so good right now that I'm fucking loving it. Batman, like I said earlier, great character, great comic. Joss Whedon has such a task in front of him. I don't know if I should get excited for this news. Do I want it to be good? Like I said, yes. I want him to be able to save it and put this on the Avengers level, because the Avengers and their Marvel Cinematic Universe is almost over to me. Once Infinity War hits, where do you go? I'm not really excited about a Captain Marvel, Spider-Man-led MCU, because one, Spider-Man's going to be gone. He's going back to Sony, they're going to fuck that up, and there's going to be another reboot of Spider-Man. Maybe Black Panther's going to lead? I don't know. But we're at the end of the good Marvel proper universe with the A-list characters that everyone loves. Now should be DC's time to shine. You know, if Wonder Woman performs and Justice League performs, maybe, just maybe, a Joss Whedon-led Avengers 2, or excuse me, not Avengers 2, we've already had that, it was fine. A Joss Whedon-led Justice League 2 could really change public perception. But that's what you need to take into account, public perception. I'm not saying I've talked to everyone in the public, because if I had, I'd have a cool job. I wouldn't be on the internet, you know, doing what I'm doing. But anecdotally, the people I've spoken to, and I talk a lot, and I mean a lot. You're listening to this video. It's probably going to be, what, 30 minutes at this point? I don't know how long it is. My point is, I talk a lot, I talk to a lot of people, and I always talk about stuff I love. I've barely met anyone, with the exception of this hillbilly guy, that loves the DC films. Now, if you're a hillbilly and you hate those movies, don't let me lump you in with him. If you're a hillbilly enthusiast, don't get offended. Just don't. I don't care. My point is, though, anecdotally, I've never really met people that love these films. They love the characters. They think they were done poorly. And I think a lot of people in the public feel that way. You know, I hate Star Wars Episode 7. I think it's the worst fucking movie of 2015, but most people like it. It made $2 billion, so I guess it's considered a good film. But me personally, I'll never love it because I can see through the bullshit. With DC stuff, which I'm also well-versed in, I can see through the bullshit, and it's just more bullshit. There's, like, nothing good behind the curtain. Like in The Wizard of Oz, you know, they remove the curtain, and the powerful wizard is just that little dude with the white hair and the mustache. I mean, I can see what DC's doing. They're trying so hard to do two things, and it's not working. They're trying to keep tonally consistent with the Nolan films, which the Nolan films, one truly great film, and I think that's Batman Begins. One great film that does have flaws that people refuse to accept, The Dark Knight. And one good enough film that is better than most other Batman films, and that's The Dark Knight Rises. So, those movies made a bunch of money. I think The Dark Knight was the first one to clear $1 billion, if not adjusted for inflation. Or adjusted for inflation? Injustice for inflation, I'm sorry. Played that game the other day. Fun. Whatever. But they're trying to capture that time. You know, the 2008 era where The Dark Knight was everything. The Joker was everything. They're trying to get that again. They're also trying to capitalize on the world-building style of Marvel without the work. So, my best guess is for them to take this Joss Whedon news, try to edit a good film together, and start fresh. Tabula rasa, blank slate, whatever. Just like that Justice League episode. Go with that. And see where it takes you. Now, this was an unscripted rant, so if I kind of rambled on, I apologize. As I was recording this, I found out Roger Moore died, and I love James Bond. That is my favorite fictional character, and he was the first James Bond cinematically to die. So, the beginning seemed like I was on hot fire, and now I'm just kind of like spinning in circles because I'm like, holy shit, Roger Moore's dead. So, I apologize. But if you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And more importantly, down in the comments, tell me how you feel about this. Do you think that Joss Whedon's going to single-handedly save the DCEU? Do you think Zack Snyder being gone is a good thing? Now, like I said, I'm not making fun of him for losing a child and all that stuff. That's terrible. I don't have kids, but I can understand what it's like. Hell, I'm a little bothered that Roger Moore, a guy I've never ever met or could have met, has died. So I couldn't imagine losing your own kid, someone that you made yourself and, you know, raised and were with every day. Like, I'm not even trying to joke about that. But for the sake of film, for the sake of the art of film, it is so good that something has taken Zack Snyder out of the equation, because that man is kryptonite to Superman. You know, he's killing him. I'm not saying everyone in the world was loving Superman. I mean, it's 2017. Superman hasn't been cool since like 85. I know Superman 3 came out in, what, 83? I don't think Superman's been, like, socially cool since then. Lois and Clark was on TV, kind of hokey. I still watch it because I love Superman. Animated series was amazing. Wasn't as big a hit as Batman the Animated Series. So, there you go. And once Batman 89 came out, Batman's kind of dominated for the last almost 30 years. But my point is, Zack Snyder didn't bring a cool factor to Superman. He pissed off the old dudes that grew up with the Kurt Swan, big barrel-chested smile Superman. And if you don't know who Kurt Swan is, look him up. Great artist, sad death. And he hasn't given us a Superman that we can relate to either, because he's like an angsty Spider-Man. An angsty Spider-Man is the Amazing Spider-Man, and you saw how that franchise went. So, Joss Whedon is up against an entire army of bullshit that Zack Snyder built. And I'd love to say, hey, we're going to get a great Justice League film in November, but I don't think it's going to happen. So, thanks for listening. Leave your comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was all right. Subscribe to the channel. Got a great video that's really popular, thanks to all you listeners out there, on my thoughts over the whole Captain America, Nazi Hydra, Marvel sales in the toilet debacle, which is still kicking ass in the view count, so I'm very thankful for that. And if you like this kind of content, like I said, subscribe. Tomorrow, I'm putting out a video on why I think the Tom Hardy Venom film is a bad idea. You can only find it here, but World Class Bullshitters is also on Facebook, Twitter, Podbean, and soon to be Patreon. Thanks for listening, and have a good day.